to the Chronicles told by the Oracle. Cases of the missing, murdered, and unsolved. I'd like to thank everyone for joining me today, and don't forget, all source information for today's case can be found at thecertifiedoracle.com. Be sure you hit that like and subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Let's get started with Chronicle number 44, the Tinze Lucinda Huels case. Journey back to 1984. Prince released Purple Rain. The release of the album and the movie in the same week would launch Prince into stardom. The longest game in Major League Baseball history was played, lasting for 8 hours and 6 minutes, consisting of 25 innings, and it took 2 days to play. It ended when the White Sox defeated the Brewers 7-6. Meanwhile, leggings, jean jackets, short skirts, and big hair was all the craze. For Christmas that year, the #1 toy kids wanted were Cabbage Patch Kid dolls, along with Transformers. Trivial Pursuit was a hot-ticket item, with over 20 million sold that year. If you were not too caught up in trivia or playing with toys, then you were eating barbecue chicken pizza and yelling, "Where's the beef?" at the TV when the all-new, iconic Wendy's commercial came on. 1984 was a time to thrive. New things were taking shape all over America. But for one young family, their wife and mother had vanished, only to come back 8 years later and have their lives turned upside down, going through the pain and heartache all over again. Tinze Lucinda Huels, known by all as Lucinda, was born on April 6, 1967. Lucinda would grow up in Hillsborough County, Florida. She met a young man named Larry Huels while she was living with her mother Helen in the Lamplighter Mobile Home Park near Tampa, Florida. The two young teens lived next door to each other, and they would fall in love quickly. On April 3, 1982, just 3 days before her 15th birthday, Lucinda wed Larry Huels, who was a few years older than her. It should be noted I couldn't find his exact age, but he was around 20 years old at the time. In November, Lucinda would give birth to her first child, Christopher. Lucinda loved her family and was very home-oriented after the birth of her son. Larry was working and Lucinda was a homemaker. She had no complaints about this at the time. As time went by, Lucinda and Larry were expecting another child, this time a baby girl named Deanna, who was born in March of 1984. The happy family of four moved into an apartment complex in the Temple Terrace area near Tampa, Florida, to start their lives, only to have it all go downhill and end with more questions than answers. Friday, October 26, 1984, was a normal day. Larry was at work, and the now 17-year-old Lucinda was home with her 2 young children. Lucinda was a loving wife and mother, who met 2 ladies who lived in the same complex as she did. The pair were around 10 years older than she was, and it was believed that they were not a good influence on the young mother and wife. The stories vary on what actually happened that night. At some point, Larry came home and gave Lucinda $15 so she could go do laundry at the laundromat. It has been said that Lucinda came home at some point after doing laundry or while it was washing, and cooked dinner for her husband, changed her clothes, and headed out to the Sharpow Lounge, a local bar. Some articles state she did not come back home before going out, or that she came back and got ready at one of the ladies' homes she was going out with that night. This was not the first time Lucinda had gone out. It seemed once she met Linda and Nika, it happened more and more. Lucinda was drinking and experimenting with drugs. Some rumors even talked about the possibility Lucinda was dabbling in prostitution, as Nika was a known prostitute by locals. Lucinda was applying for a part-time job in hopes of having one before the Christmas season. This was so she could buy more Christmas presents for her children. It seems Lucinda was torn between the life she loved as a mother and wife and the party life she never had the chance to experience before becoming a mom and a wife. Lucinda would meet her 2 friends, Linda and Nika, at the lounge. Linda's husband would also arrive at the bar. Some articles state this was her ex-husband. It is said he knows Larry Moore, the man Lucinda was going to be working for. Many witnesses state that Linda and her husband got into a heated argument, although no one seems to know what it was about, and said the situation was quickly resolved. Lucinda, Nika, and Linda would play pool for a while before heading different ways in the lounge to mingle. Around midnight to 12:30 a.m., which would now be Saturday, October 27th, Lucinda was approached by Linda and asked if she was ready to go. Lucinda was having a good time and decided to stay a while longer. This is where the accounts of who last saw or was with Lucinda begin to vary greatly. Nika claims when she was leaving, she went outside and found Lucinda smoking marijuana with a group of people. Nika would later say she did not know any of the people Lucinda was outside with, but she appeared to be having a good time and was not ready to go, so Nika left Lucinda and the lounge. It was also reported Lucinda was seen talking in the parking lot to Larry Moore, a man who owned at least 3 businesses, one of which was a maid service Lucinda was set to start work at on October 29th. When questioned about the interaction, Larry said he saw Lucinda and talked briefly to her. Larry also stated Lucinda was in and out of the lounge that night, and he was not the last one with her. In a turn of events, he and his friend would be pulled over later that morning and be charged for a firearm in the vehicle and possession of marijuana. Lucinda has not been seen since the early morning hours of Saturday, October 27th. Larry knew when his wife had not come home that something was wrong. Of course, she went out and sometimes came home later than he liked, but she had never stayed out all night. The facts vary a bit on when Larry was alerted his wife's car was still in the Sharpow Lounge parking lot. Linda and Nika claimed to have seen the car still parked in the lot and went to Larry and alerted him. Other articles say Larry began looking for his wife and found her car in the parking lot on his own. Either way, the only car they owned was found abandoned with the doors unlocked and folded laundry in the back seat. The only things missing were Lucinda and her purse. Larry would alert the police and Helen, Lucinda's mother, that she had not come home and they had found the car parked at the lounge from the night before. What they would not find out until 2 weeks later was a janitor across the street at Busch Gardens campground had found Lucinda's purse under a bench next to the men's restroom. It would be put in the lost and found, where it sat for 2 weeks before an employee would notice it was the purse belonging to a missing 17-year-old Lucinda Huels, and alerted the authorities. Everything still seemed to be inside: the leftover change from the laundromat, her marriage license, ID, and insurance card, along with her makeup. The real mystery was why was it found across the road at Busch Gardens. 5 months after Lucinda vanished, an older man living in the Tampa area called police. He had just watched the news and saw the missing young lady. The man told the police the girl had just been at his home looking for work. When he asked where she lived, she pointed a little down the street. The man sent her away as he had no work for her to do. The man would report the home she gestured to was known to have young people in and out at all hours of the day and night. Some thought it could have been Larry Moore's home, or a home he ran a business out of, as rumors were flying that the maid service was a cover-up for a prostitution ring. Nothing would come of this lead, however, nor would anything come from another sighting in Tennessee from a trucker who said a girl who looked just like Lucinda had asked him for a ride while he was parked at a rest stop. The man declined and the girl went on her way. The case would begin to grow cold and colder for 8 long years. In 1992, the phone would ring. A now 8-year-old Deanna answered to hear a woman on the other end ask who she was speaking to. Deanna told her, and the response she received no one was ready for, especially not an 8-year-old child. The woman said, "Oh baby, this is your mom." Deanna would laugh, thinking it was a prank call, and tell the woman she wasn't her mom. In the midst of this call, Lucinda's mom overheard and took the phone away from Deanna. Could this be the day that they had all been waiting for, and their Lucinda was alive and well? and finally coming home to them? Helen and the woman would talk on the phone for a long while. This woman knew a lot about the family. It turns out a woman named Amanda had been living between Tennessee and Arkansas for the past 8 years, and one night, while watching an episode of Unsolved Mysteries, her husband joked she looked a lot like the woman on TV. Amanda broke down in tears and said she had a confession to make. She was Lucinda, and she had run away from her life because she could not handle being a wife and mother so young. The man believed her and turned her over to police, where she made a call to the Huels residence. The family and the police were so convinced this was Lucinda, they sent her back to the family she had run away from. Larry was overcome with joy. He had his wife back, and the children had their mother. It was a true miracle. Christopher was 10 at the time, and Deanna was just turning 8, as she was only 6 months old when her mother had vanished. While Larry and Helen thought she looked a little different, they were still happy. It had been 8 years. She would not have looked exactly the same. However, the gap in her front teeth was not there anymore, and her chin was a little bit different. Amanda explained to the family that she had been in a car accident, and they had to do dental work on her, and cosmetic surgery to fix her injuries. The family was just so happy to have who they thought was Lucinda back. They failed to see the red flags. The woman knew a lot about the family. She knew which sister was who, and she even recognized her best friend Candy at the grocery store one day. Candy knew something was off from the get-go, but the family was so happy she could not express what she was feeling about this woman, so she kept her mouth shut and let it play out. The kids were treated well by the woman, and she was very intimate with Larry, always giving him cards and cooking for him. She was the Lucinda that vanished all those years ago. The family was happy and whole again. They were finally settling in to a normal home life, only to have it all come crashing down, causing pain and grief that they still deal with today. After the news stories aired that Lucinda was home and safe after 8 long years, a call would come into the Tampa police station, claiming the woman who was found safe was not Lucinda, rather a 17-year-old married runaway named Amanda. The woman denied at first she was Amanda, holding fast to being Lucinda. Eventually, DNA confirmed the woman was not related to Christopher or Deanna. This devastated the family. A husband had lost his wife all over again, a mother her child, and the children lost their mother, and this time they would be old enough to remember, thus making the pain all that much worse. Larry shut down and would no longer talk about what happened. He would never remarry. Lucinda was the love of his life, and I'm sure he felt like he betrayed her as much as Amanda had betrayed all of them. Larry continued to work and raise his family until he passed away, never knowing what happened to his wife. The family does not believe Amanda was involved in the disappearance of Lucinda, but they do have a lot of questions as to why she did this. Her actions have changed the lives of this family without any real reason as to why she pretended to be Lucinda. When the news was released that Lucinda, or Amanda posing as Lucinda, was safe and back home, neither Linda nor Nika came to visit her. It is said they both moved out of the apartment complex and did not talk to the family anymore. It's odd that the 2 friends who were with her that night did not care enough when it was announced she was found. Is it because they already know what happened to her? The family and others seem to think so. Linda cannot be located, and Nika has been in and out of jail for prostitution and drug-related charges. It should also be noted the man who Lucinda was scheduled to start working for never came by to inquire about Lucinda. He has since passed away. Deanna is still looking for answers. She is ready for closure. As a 6-month-old, she had a mom that she never got to know, who vanished. Then, when she was 8 years old, she got her mom back, only to have this one taken because she was only pretending to be her mom. As time goes on, she just wants the truth. Is her mom alive and living well somewhere, or did something far worse happen in 1984? If you have any information on this case, please call 1-800-843-5678 or the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, Florida, Missing Persons Unit at 813-247-8000. I want to thank everyone for watching again, and be sure you hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe so I can continue helping families of the missing, murdered, and unsolved. As always, this is the Chronikle, signing off.